When I was a high school student, my two favorite people in the world were hospitalized. The moments that I was reflecting on were the moments where we were laughing. And it was those moments that we were laughing despite it all, which was in the hospital. When you can't find the good, you have to be the good. And to be able to create that for someone else, I mean, that's just the greatest gift of all.
Hello, happy Amp Day. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for joining on this podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So I am Pramvera and I've been working with a team of Are You Happy for over a year now. And we have been interviewing impactful organizations for a long time now. So I'm very happy to have this call with you today.
Likewise, I am so excited to be here.
Awesome. So I just wanted to shortly let you know that this is a podcast where we have dedicated to interviewing change makers like yourself and your organization, people that are part of positive change and people who are working toward making the world a happier place, and so on. So it's always a pleasure to be speaking to people from nonprofit organization. I just would love for you to start introducing yourself and the organization that you work with.
Absolutely. Hi, my name is Kylee McGrane-Zarnoch. I'm so excited to be here. I'm the founder and executive director of A Moment of Magic, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization that provides moments of joy, hope, and friendship to children that are hospitalized and facing serious illnesses by engaging college student volunteers. Our goal is to help make the hospital a less scary place. So we train college students to go into the hospitals and lead what we call creative programs. So we do everything from arts and crafts activities to doing mental health education that's age appropriate to bringing princesses and superheroes to the hospital. Our goal is to help children that are hospitalized know that they're not in that journey alone.
Wow, that's very impressive. I like this stuff when they just go to the Spider-Mans and the other kind of things to the hospitals, and not only hospitals. So what moment in your life have, when you started working with this nonprofit and you started founding it, how did you, that first experience and shape your mission into all of this?
Absolutely. When I was a high school student, my two favorite people in the world were hospitalized. They were my grandparents. And I remember going into the hospital and visiting them, and I was able to leave. And I had so much anxiety just walking into the hospital. And you know how hospitals feel. You can feel the light, you know how bright they are, how sterile they are. You can smell what a hospital smells like. And I just remember how impactful it was for me as someone that was a visitor and got to go home every night, and how it really affected their spirit being there for a long time. So I tried to do whatever I could to make the hospital more homey for them. So I do everything from sneak in Christmas trees around the holidays to bringing in their favorite foods from home and their favorite restaurants. And when I was a high school senior, I would come in and I would do all of my big events. So graduation or prom, I would visit them in my outfit before I would go off to whatever big milestone I was attending. And I remember going into the hospital in my big prom dress to visit my grandma. And my grandparents passed away within 2 weeks of each other after 65 years of marriage. And when I was going through the time of really grieving that loss, the moments that I was reflecting on were the moments where we were laughing. And it was those moments that we were laughing despite it all, which was in the hospital. And I thought, if I could do that for my grandparents and kind of try to keep that memory alive by doing it for someone else, maybe their memory can kind of be the impetus for something bigger. So I had this idea to dress up as a princess and visit a children's hospital in New York. And it was a moment that just changed the trajectory of my life. I just realized how impactful one moment of kindness could be on other people. And it became my life's goal to try to replicate and get as many people involved as possible.
Wow, that's very, very nice. Thank you so much for sharing that. And can you share a story about someone whose life was transformed through your work and your organization's work?
So, when we first started the organization, we had been doing a lot of hospital visits, but we came across a story of a 6-year-old girl who had battled cancer, and she was a survivor. She was going through the end of her treatment, and it was just her 6th birthday. She was going to have this big celebration. And I remember our team reached out to her mom to see if they'd be interested in having some of our princess show up to surprise her at her party. And when we first went, she was a little shy and timid. But by the end of the day, we were singing and we were talking, and it just became this really powerful friendship that has lasted now for almost a decade. She's now in middle school and she's doing really well. And any milestone that she has, whether it's her personal life or her health, we feel so lucky and privileged to continue to be a part of. And that one moment might have changed, the day for her or an experience for her parents. But I know that that day also had a profound impact on our volunteers. It just really goes to show that those moments where you treat a person like they're the only person in the room can make a really big impact.
Yeah, that is so true. I've been listening and reading a little bit about how positivity can impact also whatever that we going through our brain, how it circulates, but also other organs in our body. So that's really nice to hear on how this experience actually impacted her life, and that you're friends until now, like long time.
Yeah, I think it's really special too. I mean, when children are battling something like cancer, they're of course going to associate that with so many challenging memories. But if we could provide positive associations with that journey, with being in the hospital, those little moments of hope and joy, they have a really big impact. And when you can't find the good, you have to be the good, and to be able to create that for someone else, I mean, that's just the greatest gift of all.
That is so true. And another question would be, throughout your journey, what has been the most unexpected challenge that you have faced, and what did you learn from it?
I think there are so many different challenges that we faced, both running a business and running this type of business. I think that the first thing that comes to mind is how deeply we feel the losses that we go through. Working in this space and working especially with children with cancer, there are so many children that we meet that don't survive cancer. And that is a huge emotional toll on the volunteers. And I think volunteers play a really interesting part of that story because we care so much about the families and want to support them however we can, but we aren't family members, and there's that separation. So sometimes our volunteers will say, I don't know how much I can feel or how much I deserve to feel. But sadness is sadness and grief is grief, and you're allowed to feel all of those challenges and all of those feelings. And I think that I don't know if I knew how deeply I would feel them. I think I knew that I would feel those feelings, but I think being able to have those experiences and get to work with these families in such an intimate way that we do is such a privilege. And it's really important to reframe those challenges as opportunities. Like, we got those moments and we were able to be a part of those stories, and trying to approach them that way makes a really big difference. I think on the total opposite end of things, the organization is a business, and it requires a lot of resilience and belief in yourself and your teammates. Every day we're trying to build this organization to reach more people, to activate more volunteers, and to continue making as big of an impact as we can. And there are some days where it's easier than others, and there are some days where it's really challenging. And now on this side, 4 years post-pandemic at this point, it's been really interesting to try to navigate different types of business challenges. And I think what I've learned through that experience is to constantly build a team that inspires you, that is incredibly smart and motivated and connected to the mission. My team has been so important in making sure that we continue to reach and achieve those goals. But you also have to take care of yourself and fostering like that fire and spark inside of yourself, because if you don't, you can't let that spark burn out. So you have to constantly tend to and like kindle that flame.
Oh, you phrased it. That's so good. Thank you so much for sharing that part as well. And what is one piece of advice that you have received that has been a guiding light in your work?
I think a piece of advice that has been really important to me is to put the mission first and feel connected to the mission. I think there are a million different decisions that we have to make every single day. And sometimes we can get so wrapped up in each different decision, it can feel a little bit like overwhelm. But one thing I've always felt very connected to is being able to close my eyes and seeing where the organization can be in 10, 15, 100 years when hopefully I pass this organization on and it continues to grow and thrive. And I think letting that mission and that vision be the guiding light and connecting back to that, that's really, really important. So I would say, let your passion fuel you, but making sure that you are connected to that why is really key.
Yeah. And one last question for you would be, looking ahead, can you share an inspiring vision or project that your nonprofit is working towards, and how can our listeners, the people who are listening, would be able to be part of it?
Oh my gosh, we have so many. I could keep you here literally all day. I think one thing that's really amazing about our organization is that we work with college students across the country to activate them in their local communities. So if our type of service work is something you're interested in, definitely check out our website, amomentofmagic.org. If you've ever wanted to be a princess or a superhero, this is your opportunity. So definitely check that out. We have a really exciting new initiative called Express, Create, Heal. Essentially, what we do is use play and age-appropriate education for mental health. So we teach kids about their big emotions that they're feeling and how they can use things like play and meditation and movement to deal and cope with these big feelings. So much is happening there. So definitely stay tuned on our website and on our socials. And one last plug, we actually just published a book last August. It's a children's book. It's right behind me, called Your Magic.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. So it was inspired by the children that we have met throughout the last 10 years. And what we really wanted to do was to remind kids that no matter who you are, no matter what challenges you face, where you're from, what you look like, what you like to do, you are the hero of your story. So the book has 30 original characters in it that are inspired by the children that we met. And it is an amazing book, if I do say so myself. 100% of the proceeds go back to the organization, and you can find it on Amazon, Target, wherever books are sold. And it just makes a really big difference to support however you can.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, and looking forward to reading the book, and also looking forward to getting those questions and seeing how the people will be joining on A Moment of Magic.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate the ability to share our story. So thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much for being part of our podcast. And we will be in touch, and we'll be sharing this podcast with you as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.